want to give a big shout out to Behind the Smile. Tara and Scott Martin and their son CJ. They lost their son Tyler to suicide. And this is my second time working with them in their community. I'm thankful to be able to work with you to impact the lives of your community.
Ladies and gentlemen, lives are going to change this morning. And I know you might think to yourself, dude, that's a pretty strong statement. You don't know us, and you're right. It's starting to feel good. Now, as a younger speaker, I thought to myself, I'm getting too old. I don't relate to young people anymore. And the older I get, the more present I am, the more fun I'm having. Now, I don't think it's just that I'm getting older in age and wisdom and experience, but I think just, becoming a better man every single day. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're dealing with, and I don't know if you know why you're here, but I'm going to tell you why you're here. I'm going to talk to you about life. About life. And I ask, whatever you might be dealing with at home, within your four walls, life is not perfect. Everybody in this room has a story. We have a story that not everybody knows. We might be dealing with addiction, abuse, bullying, mental illness, loss. There's going to be a lot in my message today. I don't know what you're going to walk away with. But I want you to pay no attention to who's on your right, who's on your left, who's behind you, who's in front of you. I'll tell you, I'm coming here. I'm not wasting your time. I ain't never met an audience that's going to waste my time. Let me ask you a question. Don't answer it, just think it to yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, who is the hardest person to get to know? If you're like most people, you say, ourselves, me, us. That's right. And so I want to ask you, at what point are you going to start to figure that out? I'd love for that to start here now, today. I get asked quite often, hey, Jeff, you've been working with young people 27 years, man. If you were to tell young people one thing and you're to help us, what is one thing that we need to give young people? What would that be? I don't hesitate. I say self-esteem. Self-esteem. I want to stand here as a parent, as a teacher, as a coach, and I'm going to tell you, hey, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful, you've got the ability, you can do it. But you know where I struggle? I struggle with, we can say this, but if you don't believe it yourself, our words don't mean anything. And I meet so many young people that are waiting to be validated. We want to be accepted. We want to be liked. We want to be popular. We're comparing ourselves, and we find that we might not be as popular. Why do people like them more than they like me? If you live your life and you're waiting for people to validate you, you're going to be greatly disappointed. And I think it's in the world that we're growing up in. We're on 24/7, 365. Not just you, but our teachers, our coaches, our parents, our friends even. You've got to wake up every day and validate yourself. Oh, man. 6 years ago, I was married to the most beautiful woman in the world. High school English teacher, student council advisor, department head, yearbook editor, theater director. We were married for 17 years. As a matter of fact, way back when we got engaged, her best friend and I were out to lunch, and she says to me, she says, Jeff, you're taking the most beautiful woman off the market. I said, I know. After 17 years of marriage, we went through a divorce. It would have been easy for me. I could have blamed it on her. I could have blamed it on family. I could have blamed it on money. I could have blamed it on this. I could have blamed it on that. And I think when we're young and we're trying to figure ourselves out, we don't really understand that personal responsibility in looking at the mirror and saying, well, what did I have to do with this not going well? What did I have to do with some of the problems or issues in my life? We have a tendency to, it's my parents this, or it's our teachers that, coaches, my friends this. And when my wife and I went through a divorce, I found myself one day, I'm looking in the mirror. You ever look in the mirror and not like that reflection that looks back? Starting to get real now. If you spend time in the mirror and you don't like that reflection that looks back, don't blame it on the mirror. It just means you have to spend more time there. I'm looking in the mirror that one day and I said to myself, I said, what did I have to do? With this marriage falling apart? And I looked at myself and I said, yeah, it makes sense. I realized at that moment that my mental illness was much greater than I ever respected it to be. I stand here in front of you proud to tell you that I am a man that lives with mental illness. I'm diagnosed with major depression. I'm diagnosed with bipolar type 2 and post-traumatic stress disorder. And we say, dude, people don't even talk about that, but yet you say you're proud. Why? Get to know who you are. Be comfortable with who you are not. Me acknowledging that something isn't right. Looking in the mirror and accepting that I am part of the problem. And asking for help and engaging in that help every single day has been life-changing. And now it's no longer like I want to be liked or I want to be accepted. You know my biggest fight? I want to like myself. And to understand, not everybody is going to like you. Folks, that's okay. You can be popular, people don't like you for this. Maybe you're not popular, people don't like you for that. You have to like yourself and know that people will judge you every single day. But what matters is the judgment that you have when you look in the mirror. I wish I understood that when I was your age. As a matter of fact, a month ago, I live in Myrtle Beach, and I had to grab a plane to go to Buffalo, New York to do one of these talk thingies. And so I get off in Charlotte, and I have to change planes. It's like 9 o'clock at night. A little inappropriate of a story, but stay with me. I talk to you like you're my kids. It's not that bad. You can handle it. I get off the plane, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I got to pee so bad. Shut up, you've had to pee. That's the inappropriate part. People, they get offended when I say pee. They're like, you should say urinate, it's more appropriate. But it doesn't make sense. I got off the plane, I had to urinate so bad. But I did, I had to go, where's the men's room? There, I walk in the men's room, nobody is in there. So right away I'm thinking, is it open? Is it closed? I don't care, I gotta go. So I walk in, I go all the way over to the very far urinal. And I get up there and I'm getting ready to go to the bathroom. It's awkward. And right away I'm thinking to myself, this is nice, I'm home. I'm by myself, and I had to go so bad. All of a sudden, out of that peripheral vision, I see this older gentleman walk in. And he's getting closer. And he walks up to the urinal right next to mine. I know, I was there. And right away, my flow stopped. I've got like stage fright. And I'm thinking to myself like, dude, why? Like, you don't do that. Like, you totally broke bro code. Like, you understand, right? You use every other urinal. And then he looks at me. Hondo. And he says to me, I would never hire you. And I'm like, did I tell you I have bipolar type 2? I did. Good, that's important. I don't know if any of you know anything about like bipolar. Well, bipolar to me is like something happens and it triggers an emotion where you're not going to think, but you're going to react. When we react, we often find ourselves in trouble, right? Let me paint it this way. You go home from school today. Your little brother hits you. What do? You jack him up. And then your parents are yelling at you. You got to hit me first. And then your parents are like, you're the older sibling. You know better. This is fair. When we react, we get in trouble. As a man that's in therapy, I've come to learn simple things like the 4 T's. Take time to think. Breathe. Ignore it. Walk away. I'm minding my own business. Dude, I wanted to snap. I wanted to step off that urinal. I wanted to windmill scissor kick him in the mouth. But had I done that, I would have urinated on him. I would have urinated on me. I would have urinated all over that would not have been good. That would have posed much greater issues that we got to deal with. You know what I did? Folks, you don't understand. Thank gosh for self-care and therapy and medication. I ignored him. I deserve an Emmy. I ignore him. I'm over at the sink. I'm washing my hands because you should do that. When said weird guy comes over and he's washing his hands too, and he looks at me again and he says, your tattoos are very unprofessional. I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm thinking to myself, you don't know me. Who are you to judge me? It took everything I have to ignore him again. And I did. And I'm proud of myself. And here I am a month later. You know what I like about this? This gentleman is really no different than you and I. We judge people every day based on maybe the 5% we think we know about them. And as a man that lives with mental illness, you come to look at life a lot differently. I've come to look at life as like, hey, everyone has a story. How can I be a part of your story to help you wherever I can help you? How can my presence or my word, how can they plant seeds that maybe can be supportive and encouraging? How can... I've come to look at life as like one big giant quilt. All of us. Many different pieces and colors and shapes and fabrics and sizes, all woven together to make one. And so self-esteem-wise, you have to see, well, how do I fit in this piece? How do I fit in my 8th grade class? How do I fit in my school? What contribution do I make? What contribution can I make to my community? And it becomes less about you and more about how can I serve? You know my favorite word? The word grace. I used to think grace was like a biblical term or something you read in the Bible. And many years ago, I'm speaking to a bunch of 8th graders in Iowa. And as I'm talking, there's this 8th grader, he's shining a laser at me the whole time. And so finally I stop and I say to the kid, are you stupid? I know. We're like pretty sensitive these days. God forbid, I think I upset him. Because the administration was now upset. The teachers were upset. The kids were like, OMG. And then all of a sudden, I'm apologizing. You're right. I've been doing this 27 years. I know better. I shouldn't have. Regardless, I'm the adult. I know better. I'm talking to the family a couple weeks later. How can I'm sorry. The father says to me, he says, sir, I hope someday you find grace in your heart. I never really knew what that meant. But I apologized and I went on. And I spent a lot of time looking in the mirror trying to get to be the man that someday I hope to be. That's working on me every day. And I think through that journey I've come to learn what grace really is. Grace is when you take love and compassion in your heart and you combine that with the power and strength from your belly. And you take the power and strength combined with the love and compassion, and you live that way. The way you talk, the way you act, the way you respond to situations. Your heart has to be your connection to the world, not your smartphone. This is not your fault, but our smartphone has become our connection to the world. The reality is, I want to tell you something. If you spend more than 4 or 5 hours a day on your smartphone, you're 70% more likely to have major depression in your life. They say the safe zone maybe is 1 to 2 hours a day. Essentially, here's what's happening. There's this thing called, it's a chemical called dopamine. And young people, you've been given this technology, which is great when we know how to use it. But this dopamine, when we're on our social media platforms, it's like, OMG, SMH, he did that, she did that. Oh, group text, it's going down tomorrow. Oh, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more. And so we're like addicted to this. The reality is, too much time here is having a negative effect on our overall mental well-being. And so I want to encourage you, hey, this is great. But I want you to spend a little bit more time putting this down and getting more involved. Because this is life skills that you will always need. Conversation, communication, coping skills, problem solving, agree to disagree. And the more involved you are, the better it is for your overall mental well-being. Raises self-esteem. You learn so much. And that, I think, is something that is really missing today. You become less judgmental, more compassionate, more understanding. You get to know about other people. I want to tell you something that, for the first time, I shared last week. And I'm going to share it with you now, and it's hard because you're going to judge me, and that's okay. My wife, Marcia, had come home from an emergency procedure at the hospital. She had to have a full hysterectomy. On the day she came home, she was mandated from the doctor to spend 30 days on bed rest. And that basically meant no lifting, no cooking, no chores, no driving, 30 days rest. Ladies and gentlemen, on the day she came home, I left her. How many of you, and you have my permission, if you think I'm an insensitive, stupid, dumb jerkhead, raise your hands. Thank you. You know something? It's okay that you judge me. I understand. Nobody's been harder on me than me. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate myself. I hate myself for having done this to my number one, who I made a commitment to, and at the most important time, she probably needed me more than anything. And I've been asking myself, why? Why all of a sudden do I feel comfortable sharing this? I don't think it's that I feel comfortable sharing it, but I think I'm able to share it because of my wanting to be a better man and looking to be a better man and growing every day. I've come to realize I'm not today who I was then. That back then I may have thought I was healthy, but I really wasn't healthy. And I'm sorry. And I've come to learn that nobody's perfect. You ever say something you wish you didn't say? Have you ever done something you wish you didn't do? Sure. But why is it that we look at other people and we hold them to a standard that is greater than the standard that you hold yourself to? You want to know why? Because you haven't yet looked at yourself in the mirror. And when you start taking care of yourself, that's a game changer. And so I've gone to everyone in my life that I remember I may have been a part of this or that, this problem, or when this happened, and I've gone to them and said, listen, I've done a lot of work on me, and I've come to realize that I am a man that lives with mental illness, and I wanted to apologize for when this happened, and I want to take the responsibility. Will you please forgive me? Most everybody has forgiven me. Some people haven't. And that's okay. Because now I've come to realize that's their issue, it's not my issue. You can't change people, places, and things. But you could change yourself. And that's what matters most. I've gone to Marsha. We have a great relationship. I've asked for forgiveness. She's forgiven me. She's got a great guy in her life. I couldn't be more happy for her. But sometimes self-esteem is a matter of you being able to give yourself forgiveness for what you may have said or done to be able to move forward. Yeah. What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah? I'm Jeff. Sarah, nice to meet you. 8th grade? Yeah. Can I ask you a question? I would never embarrass you. I would never make you look bad. But I'd like to ask you a question, and as I ask you this question, every person in this room will ask themselves the same question, but only your answer will we know. And I want you to answer the question not based on what you think I want to hear. I want you to answer it based on your heart, your feelings, and your emotions. Pay no attention to anyone on your right, behind you, in front. This is me, you, me. Have you ever looked in the mirror and that reflection not be very kind, friendly? Sure. Sarah, do you think all of us in this room, as we look out into the future, is that future the unknown? It's kind of scary. I don't know who I'm going to be or what am I going to do. I don't even know who I am. The expectations, the pressure, the stress, the anxiety. Do you think sometimes it's overwhelming? I agree. Sarah, tonight, Friday night, let's say you go home, it's 10 o'clock at night, you go in your bedroom, you're putting on your pajamas, you're getting ready for bed. And then you walk across the hall, Sarah, and you go into the bathroom, you shut the door behind you, you put toothpaste on your toothbrush, you look in the mirror, you're brushing your teeth. Sarah, you're all alone. You look up in the mirror, that reflection looks back. Here's the question. Do you see a young lady in that reflection that is as beautiful on the inside as the whole world we see you on the outside? It's hard to be vulnerable in front of our peers, isn't it? Thank you for being honest. That's where it starts. I hate that question. I hate it because it exposes truth. But I love it because we don't grow until the truth is exposed. It takes a lot of courage for someone to be in front of her peers, 8th grade, to say no. But you know something, Sarah? I bet you probably 90 to 95% of you, if I was one-on-one with you and I asked you the same question, you would have the exact same answer. And so we spend a lot of time looking and comparing and judging when you haven't even taken care of you yet. Many of us live a facade. There's a wall you don't want to let people in. You spend way too much time getting up, looking in the mirror. How do I look? How my clothes look? My makeup, do my clothes match? People are going to judge me. What are they going to think? I can only wish for you that you now can spend time looking in the mirror and getting to know who you are. Take care of this, because when you take care of this, all that takes care of itself. Thank you, Sarah. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're strong. You've got the ability. But you know what? I don't want you... Oh, you don't want to hear this. I'm feeling good now. I'm going to tell you something. Please, I'm not lecturing you. Please, that's the last thing I ever want to do. This is my heart, yours. I don't want you to live life as a victim. Oh, my parents did this, and well, my teacher's stupid, my friends, the coaches, you don't understand. Stop it. I am not a victim because I live with mental illness. I could talk about the mistakes I made in the marriage. I'm not talking about anything that maybe Marcia admits that she has done wrong. But I want to tell you a little bit about me. And so maybe as you judge me here, you'll have more of an understanding and compassion as to, well, yeah, maybe he wasn't healthy. I was abused as a child. You know, in 17 years of being married to Marcia, she has never seen me speak. My parents are both alcoholics. My father has never told me he's proud of me. That's okay. You want to know why that's okay? Because you only know what you know. And therefore, we can only do what we have learned. And so I've come to learn that I can either be a victim or I can rise up and be a victor. That life and circumstances and situations, it happens, and it might not be my fault, but it is my responsibility. It might not be your fault, but it doesn't change that it's your responsibility as you move forward. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be angry. Dude, I just want to be better. And I'll tell you what I tell my kids. You know what your responsibility is? You wake up, you get up, you dress up, you show up. That's half the battle in life. Half of us, we can't even do that right. Not you, I'm generalizing. We don't show up on time. We don't show up prepared. We don't show up, our homework is done. We have our uniform. We don't show up, we forgot our lunch. If you show up on time, ready, present, engaged, put your phone down a little bit, have a growth mindset. You know, I might learn just something today. You're already halfway there. And then the other half, I think, is broken into two categories. Number one, your attitude, your choices, and your behavior. I used to hate talking to young people about attitude until I learned a lot about me and my mental illness. Sometimes waking up isn't easy. I've come to learn attitude's a small thing, makes a big difference. I have anxiety. Speaking is not easy for me. I wake up early every day because I have to practice my self-care. I'll ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low anxiety, 1 stress, and 10 being high stress anxiety, where do you think you are on an average day, 1 to 10? Give me some numbers. If you're above 5, raise your hand. Awesome, put your hands down. Good deal. If I'm at a 7, 8, 9, do you think I can come here with you and be present? No, I'm stressed about this, worried about that, my assistant, my media team, where am I next week or tomorrow, the kids, the business, the nonprofit, writing this book. I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is I breathe. I do yoga, it's called like an Ujjayi breath. I inhale through my nose for a count of 4, exhale through my nose for a count of 4. I have ADD, and sometimes I'm like, I want pizza. And I used to be upset and frustrated that I couldn't stay focused. I've come to learn through mindfulness to appreciate recognizing that I'm drifting, and I'm just, come back, start over, it's okay. Life is not a race, it's a journey. Inhale peace, exhale love. Before I come into a program like this, I go spend some time and I pray to center myself about the importance of being here now with you. And I do this so that as I go out about the day, I don't want the day to own me, I want to own the day. This day is mine. This day is not owning me or my emotions. If I have to stop and go reflect, if I have to stop and go breathe, if I have to stop and remember, take time to think. And that's what I need to do, and I'll do it as many times as I have to do it. But you're not a victim. I want you to be a victor. That's the mindset. It's not your fault, but your responsibility. I was a 3-sport all-state varsity athlete in high school. I played football, basketball, baseball, heavily recruited to play Division I football. Until one day. I'm not a smart man. I learned differently. I graduated 128 out of 133 students. I was rejected by 16 of the 19 colleges that I applied to, but I did have scholarship offers. And then I had to take this SAT testy. And I scored so poorly on those SATs that I was academically ineligible to go to college to play college sports. It was then that my self-esteem just plummeted. One thing affected everything. And all of a sudden I'm walking through school. I'm not the good-looking guy that can date the pretty girl, Sarah. I'm not as smart as you. I'm not as strong as you. I can never hang out with you and your friends. I'm worthless. I'm never going to amount to anything. And all my friends go off to college, and I wasn't smart enough. On the night that I graduated from high school, my mom and dad kicked me out of the house. And I know we can say, well, how can parents do that? Personal responsibility. I kind of look back and I think, I probably would have kicked me out too. You want to know why? I had a bad attitude, bad choices. My behavior was a result. I'm 48 years old. I tell my kids this. You wake up like this, man, boom. Positive attitude, positive behavior most likely. And at the end of the day, the end of the game, it's positive outcome. It's that simple. They call it the zone. You get yourself in the zone. You are in the zone. At the end, people are like, dude, that dude is good, yo. Whereas some of us, we wake up, we might not even get enough sleep. We go to bed with our cell phones. Notifications come off through the night. You're out of that REM sleep. Boom. He did that. She said, OMG, SMH. Whoa. We are woken up, broken sleep. You get up, and your parents are like, good morning. How are you? You're like, shut up forever. And so you have a bad attitude. And then all of a sudden your behavior's like, this school sucks. I don't want to be here. This is stupid. And then at the end of the day, honey, how was school? Stupid. Is school stupid, or maybe your attitude needs to be adjusted? Folks, it's really simple. Parents kicked me out of the house, and I'm walking the streets of New York with a chip on my shoulder. I'm generalizing. I'm not saying you. But I bet maybe there's some people in this room, or maybe you know some people in your life that walk life every day with a chip on their shoulder. We push away our teachers. We push away the messenger, the youth pastor, our parents, our aunt and uncle. We push away our friends. You don't know me. You don't got to walk in my shoes. You ain't got to see what I see. You ain't got to do. Who are you to judge me? Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a trusted adult in your life, a significant trusted adult, someone that you value their opinion, you trust them, you respect their advice, ladies and gentlemen, go to them. I never did that. I was the victim. Yeah, you don't know me. And so my self-esteem was so low that I honestly thought that if I could just meet a girl and marry her, that maybe she would take care of me. And so I was 18 years old and I met a girl. And I married her. And at 19 years old, we have a child. I'm a child bringing a child into the world. I found myself that I was making decisions based on emotion, and the emotion was a result of my poor self-esteem. And my poor self-esteem led to the bad attitude, the bad choices, the bad behavior. And I want to share with you how fast life happens, and we don't realize it now. As we sit here and we look out there, it's like life happens. That's why stop right now. Don't worry about that. I just want you to breathe, be present, be engaging, lift your head up, open your heart. I had people, hey Jeff, you don't have to do this, think about this, or let's talk about this. Here's the possibilities, and here's what, now I'm a man, I got to take care of my family. So I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. I'm 20 years old. They sent me to the Gulf War. I can't even take care of a child, yet I'm going to serve my country. I was there for 2 weeks. One night on patrol, 3 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, a roadside bomb goes off. 2 Marines were killed instantly. I wasn't ready for that. 38 Marines fly home on top of the plane. 2 of our Marines were underneath the plane in a coffin with the flag draped over it. That fast. And then on February 26, 1992, I'm stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And all the Marines are lined up at the armory getting their weapons, 7:30 in the morning. We got 8 o'clock formation. And I'm walking down the barracks to the left-hand side, my Marines, gentlemen, let's go, grab your weapons, let's get out there. 3rd door, left-hand side, the door slightly cracked. I push open the door, I walk in the room. And sitting about this far away, one of my Marines is sitting in a chair with the chair on either side. And I looked at him, I says, Eisenberg, let's go, let's get out there. He had this glossy, stare, empty, soul-type look. He says to me, Corporal Yalden, nobody cares about me. And I looked at him and I said, I care about you. He takes a 9mm off of his lap. He looks at me and he says, as he brings the gun closer to his chin, he says, maybe you're the only one. And as he looked at me in my eyes, I looked at him in his eyes. He pulled the trigger. And they didn't let me leave the room until 9 o'clock that night. I still taste it. I hear it. I see it. I feel the shock of the sound, the blast. Every single day. But all these years of therapy, I've come to realize this did not happen to me. I'm very sensitive to it. It happened, but I'm not a victim. I've learned that this happened for me. Because maybe I had to go through this so that after, when we're done and you guys all walk out back to your buses, I'm going to be out there. Thank you for coming. And some of you might come up, shake my hand. Jeff, thanks for serving our country. Hey, Jeff, thanks for talking. I am going to look you in the eye. I'm going to be present, and I'm going to say, I appreciate you listening. Because I never want someone to walk away from me thinking that I didn't care about them. And maybe I had to go through that to recognize how important that is. Maybe I had to go through this to journey on a career wanting to let people know you matter. Don't ever lose hope. You've got the ability, your self-esteem, your choices today matter tomorrow. And so I'm going to tell you, no matter what you go through, what you've been through, what you will go through, know that everything shapes you. We grow as a result of everything that happens or we go through. And so you become a better person, a better leader, a better friend, a better husband, a better wife, a better athlete, a better student, a better boyfriend, a better girlfriend. When you're not the victim and you rise up and you look yourself in the mirror and say, there's a reason I'm going through this. It's going to be okay. But I never learned. 22 years old, I had my second child. 23 years old, lost everything, ladies and gentlemen, lost everything. And I'll tell you something, as a result of my attitude, my choices, behavior, 10 years ago, this happened. The mother of my daughters calls me one day. I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, speaking at a student council conference. 10 years ago, Mom says, are you free right now? No, I'm talking to young people today. I says, why? Mom says to me, I just dropped your daughters off at the airport. Unless you want them to be homeless, you need to find them a one-way ticket because they're no longer welcome in my family anymore. I remember I go to the people that brought me in and says, I'm sorry, I have to go. I have a family emergency. I get to the airport in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Within 3.5 hours of getting this phone call, I arrive Dayton International Airport. I get off the plane. I walk in front of the airport, sitting on a bench on the other side of the airport. My daughters are sitting on a bench. They had 3 black trash bags to their name. That's it. They had no money. They had no cell phone. They barely had hope. Ladies and gentlemen, do not ever lose hope. Don't make decisions based on emotion at your age, 8th grade now, when you have your whole life ahead of you. I know life is hard. That's what's beautiful. They had no money, no cell phone, barely had hope. I run over to them. I gave them a great big hug and I said, it's going to be okay. Do you think that when I hugged them and I said that it would be okay, that I knew that it would be okay? I don't know you. But ladies and gentlemen, I promise, if you do the work every day, there ain't nothing you can't overcome. And that work, remember, keep it simple. Wake up, get up, dress up, show up. Your attitude, your choices, behavior. And then the other part of that, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you do, you dance, you walk out that door, you put one foot in front of the other. That's it. That's resiliency. That's grit. That's mental wellness. It's going to be okay. Matter of fact, let me share with you about life. Sarah, would you come up here, please? What's your name, handsome?
Brody.
Brody, come here, Brody. Sarah, Brody. All right, brother. Nice to meet you. I'm Jeff. Brody, yeah. Sarah, I'm Jeff again. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being so beautiful and honest. You have a dream? You don't know? What's that mean? No. Do you wake up and have a passion, dream, or something? Okay. You have a dream?
Have fun every day.
Boom, I like it. Awesome. Sarah, you know something? I don't know if I have a dream anymore. I've come to learn that's okay. 4 years ago, I was in the hospital, and the doctor gave me less than a year to live. I literally had everything packed, my will. I was planning on, I'm not going to be here anymore. I was 350 pounds, my diabetes. The doctor said at any time some catastrophe. Make a long story short, I didn't listen. I get pain one day in both heels coming up. I'm at the doctor for 7 months. They're saying it's my back that's hurting my feet. They said it's my feet that's hurting my back. And then one day I go through this nerve conduction test and I come out of the machine and the doctor takes the report and he says to me, I know what your problem is. You're fat. I know. Like how? Who are you to tell me that's unprofessional? Folks, again, I learned it took that doctor to tell me I'm fat for me to stop looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not fat, I'm big, I play football. I'm 48 years old. At what point do you stop saying, I play football? You're 13, 14. At what point do you stop complaining that your parents tightened your diaper too tight when you were 2 years old? Now that's the responsibility I'm talking about. It took that doctor to tell me that, to say, you know what, you're right, I am fat. And I got to make some changes. And then I became my best advocate. I took action. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. And so when I say, Sarah, I don't know if I have a dream anymore. I'm just so thankful. Are you listening? Thank you so much for listening. Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm just so thankful I get to be a part of your life and maybe plant seeds. So in reality, I think I am living a dream. And so here's the point I'm getting at. I think we need three things. Three things. Number one, I'll change your life right now. Sleep. We need 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, and if you're ugly, you need more. Now, I'm not saying you're ugly. I'm just making sure you're listening. Number two, nutrition. We consume over 200 grams more sugar a day than we should be consuming. More water, less soda. More protein, less carbs. Number three, get involved. Put the phone down a little bit. It's on my TED Talk. It's my latest book here. It's all about that there. Put the phone down just a little bit. And then you know what? You wake up, boom, go time. Sleep, good breakfast, ready to go. Brush your teeth, wash your face, do your dance. Walk out the door, 1 foot in front of the other. So I'm going to ask you this. As we step forward towards our dreams and who we're going to become, high school next year, and then maybe someday college, and we're going to get a job, and people say do this and do that and get there, and then we say, now what? All the expectations that you have are not answering the final question. You're working so hard now, but for what? I'll talk about that after. And so we wake up in our destination. Someday we retire. We get to that point. That's out in front of us, right? And so the fastest A from point A to point B is a straight line. Our attitude, our choices, our behavior. We stay focused. We work hard. We open our heart. We ask for help. That makes sense, right? So boom, let's go. One foot in front of the other. Attitude, choices. I'm hot. Chicks dig me. Life is good. Boom. Yeah. The hell are you doing? Let's go! You gotta want to get out of the starting gate. Now hold on, stop. I know. They're looking at me like I'm a dum-dum. Bro, do you ever have any hardship in life?
Yes, sir.
You care to share with us what you may have been through? You ever have a girl dump you? Yeah. High five. Wow. That's all right. Well, you never had a girl dump you? You have? High five, brother. I had a girl, my junior year of high school. I was dating this girl. She had this long, beautiful, black, flowing hair. Italian. Bam! She was beautiful. Brody, she had this set of eyes that you can't even imagine. And I remember, Brody, junior year of high school, she dumped me because she said I was never smart enough to ever be able to take. She dumped me. It's okay, though, man. You know, we're friends on Facebook now. Her husband is ugly. Yeah. Do me a favor, brother. Have a seat. I know what it's like. Girl dumps you. It's the end of the world. It'll be okay, bro. And so, Sarah, let's go. Life is good. Guys dig you. You're hot. Yeah. Attitude. Now stop. Hold on. You stay there. I'm sweating, bro. I'm sweating. Hey, Brody, let me ask you a question. Real serious question. I'm sorry, I'm sweating. It'll be okay. I'm getting too old for this. So we've had hardship. Life happens. Here's my question. Sometimes life happens and it takes us out of purpose. I need a timeout. I need my feelings, my thoughts. Do you know that thoughts are just thoughts? Like an arm is an arm, a leg is a leg. Thoughts are thoughts. Feelings. If we don't talk about feelings, they manifest and someday explode and blow up. We don't want that. I'm going to ask you a question. When life knocks you down, we pick ourselves back. That's right. Last year, Linwood University, 400 student athletes, 4 days before my visit, they had a lacrosse player end his life. And so they brought me in an emergency. At this very moment, there's a girl in the camera that says something that they wanted me to listen to after. And she says in the camera, she says, you know, Jeff Yalden, he's like all motivational speakers. And he tells us that when life knocks you down, you get back up, but he doesn't tell you how to get back up. And I'm thinking, you're going to spend $250,000 for a college degree, and you don't know how to get back up? You got to want to get up. You got to want to go to class. You got to want to ask him to dance. You got to want to play in the game. And so when life knocks you down and your friends say, hey man, it's going to be okay, and maybe you talk to your parents or some teachers talk about life and relationships, and you pick yourself up. That makes sense, right? Good. Whenever you're ready, on your terms, and then you get back in the game of life and you focus on where you're going, not where you've been, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me paint this picture a little differently. We're focused on where we've been. You ever drive in a car?
Yeah.
You ever notice the windshield is real big? Because that's where you're going. You ever notice the rear view mirror is not that big? Because that's where you've been. You know what I call my rear view mirror? I call it a lane Signorello. My ex-girlfriend when I was a junior in high school. You want to know why? Because every once in a while I check it out, but I don't live there. You want to know why? Because if you live where you've come from, the story never changes. That's why I don't read the same book twice. The story doesn't change. But we focus on where we're going. And so we get here, brother, and now we look at our peers. And we think, well, she's smarter than me. People like her better. Her parents are still married. Nobody ever dumped her. She lives on third base. She lives with a silver spoon in her mouth. Life is easy for her. Don't play that game. You want to know why? Life is not a race. Life is a journey. And we're all on our own path. You see, I learned I don't live my life for then. I live my life for now. Because, Brody, I've come to learn if you can't appreciate now the wins, the losses, the ups, the downs, the victories, the defeats, the goods, the bad, if you can't learn to appreciate this, the journey, you'll never be grateful for what that then can be all about. Does that make sense? So watch this. You stay here now. Sarah, you ever have any hardship in life? Yeah? You ever have a boyfriend dump you or something? Chest bump awkward. Okay, so do me a favor. You sit down. Sweating. It's a good thing I drink a lot of water, man. All right, so now time out. You pick yourself up and you're like, boom, I'm going places. There's another girl. I'm hot. Let's go, dude. Attitude, choices, behavior, believe in yourself. Boom, stop. Do you know this young lady?
Yes, sir.
You do. You ever know that there was a time in her life when she had a boyfriend and he dumped her? I find that a lot, that we don't know a lot about other people because we're so caught up here. I want you to do me a favor. You know where self-esteem comes from? When we stop thinking about ourselves sometimes, and maybe we start thinking about our friends, our peers, our family, our teammates, and you make it less about you and more about them. So I want you to do with her what I did with you. And it was like, hey man, it's going to be okay. Let's get back up, get back in the game. I want you to help her out.
Hey man, it's going to be okay. Bring yourself up.
Was that hard to do? Was that hard to do? I met a young man last week in Indiana, 18-year-old, good-looking man. When I had him do that, he looked at me, he said, how do I do that? I loved it. This is very hard for some people, but you know what? You came out of your shell and did something uncomfortable where your peers were like laughing and judging you, and you just showed everybody you're a gentleman. And I applaud you. And so now we're both back in our game, focused on where we're going. And here's what I want you to look at. We started the year off there, and slowly we came here to March 1st. Your destination, high school, college, who you're going to be, it's just ahead of you. I don't want you compromising your success because you're worried about what people think, what people might feel. You have a bad attitude, you're making bad choices, you're bad behavior, you're a victim. Stay focused. Life is going to punch you in the mouth. Life is going to reject you. But you know what? Time out. There's people that can help you and support you. You get back up and you keep grinding towards what you want in life. Does that make sense? Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please give these two beautiful people a round of applause. I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but I don't live as in the victim. Oh, woe's me. You don't. I pick myself up and I'm like, okay, that door closed. There's got to be a door that's opening. 4 years ago, I was invited to be a legal guardian of 2 biracial boys. Their mother died unexpectedly. She was 36 years old. And so these 2 boys were now going to be raised by their grandparents, and they weren't very healthy. And so one day they said to me, they said, hey, Jeff, can you just be a big brother? Sure. Little did I know these boys were coming to live with me. Jordan, he was in the 7th grade, 12 years old. Joshua, 15 years old in the 9th grade. Joshua, from the age of 1 to 3 years old, was sexually abused by his father. Their father will never leave prison. Joshua couldn't even sleep in his own bed at night. We'd go to bed every night and he'd come in my room. He'd say, Mr. Jeff, can I sleep with you? He said, come in the room, pillow and blanket. He'd sleep on the floor next to my bed. We'd wake up in the morning, I'd say, hey, grab your pillow blanket, go back to your room, make your bed. He never understood why, but I never negotiated. One thing the Marine Corps taught me is you make your bed every day. It takes 10 seconds, you haven't even walked outside your room, and you did something. And subliminally, psychologically, it's like, I did something. I remember 4 years ago when I was going through all this, I had to go through major spinal cord fusion. I was in therapy every other day for like 3 weeks. I remember one day Stacy, my therapist, said, what'd you do today? I said, I bought chicken. She said, you did what? I said, I bought chicken. She applauded me. I said, Stacy, I bought chicken. And she said to me, she says, you know what, Jeff, that's where we start. I rebuilt myself by just one day just buying chicken. I will honestly never forget that. Just breathe. Just start. You know, Joshua couldn't even take a shower. He could only take a bath, and he'd only take a bath if grandparents, or the live-in nanny was there. He tried to end his life twice. My greatest concern is, would he try a 3rd time? 5 days before school was starting, he just finished 8th grade. He's coming out of the hospital after spending 8 weeks in a child psychiatric hospital. And we decided that on this day that he's getting out, the boys were going to live with me instead of going back to grandma, grandpa, and then coming to me, because we wanted these days to acclimate themselves and to get comfortable, do a couple day trips, and hey, the first day of school, boom, let's go. So we're at dinner that night. And Jordan is on my right, and Joshua. I said to the boys, I said, what do you guys want to do this year? Tell me one thing, bucket list. I'll do everything I can. I said, what do you want, Jordan? He was quiet. He's like, I don't know. Sorry. How about you, Josh? I said, what do you want? And he's all excited. He just got out of the hospital. He's like, I want to play football. I said, why don't you play football? What if I don't make the team? I said, why don't we worry about that then, Josh? I said, but you know what? You're fast. You're strong. I said, you know what coaches want? They want kids like you that are fast, that are strong, that are unselfish, selfless. They put the team first. They show up every day. They're not afraid to ask questions. They're coachable. They hustle. And if you don't know what to do, you ask. Or if you see the upperclassmen get in line, then you go run and get in line. Because ain't no coach going to be upset that you took the initiative to do what you think was right. I said, you do that, I have no doubt you'll make the team. And so over the next 4 or 5 days, my job was to build his confidence to be greater than his fear. Because if our fear is greater than our confidence, we'll always operate on fear. I'm not smart enough. What if they say no? What if I don't make the team? What if they laugh at me? That's why if I say to you, hey, what is your why? Your why in life, that passion, that desire, your reason to want has to be greater than any excuse you can make. Because if your excuses are always at the forefront, this why doesn't matter. Well, my parents aren't married, and we don't have enough money. I don't have clothes. I'm not smart enough. I can't. No, stop it. If you have that will, there is a way. And while the difficult takes time, the impossible just takes a little bit longer. So 9th grade, you want to play football? On the first day of school, you bring your cleats, your shorts, and your shirt. When that bell rings, you get out there in the football field. He goes to school, he's got his stuff, and I'm just like, oh man, I hope he doesn't come home at 3 o'clock. He comes home at 6 o'clock on the late bus. He runs in the house, he's all excited. He's like, Mr. Jeff, I made the team, Mr. Jeff. I'm like, Joshua, tryouts today. He's like, no. Like he's mad. No, Mr. Jeff, you don't know. You weren't there. But the coaches said that 9th graders, they don't have tryouts. They said that if you show up and commit every day, you're on the team. Mr. Jeff, I'm going to commit every day. So all I ever wanted to do is play football. I'm going to be a New York Giant. I'm on the team. I made the team, Mr. Jeff. I call the coach to make sure that he's right. He made the team. And for the first time in his life, over the next few weeks, I saw a new person. I was so proud of him. None of you knew his story. But yet you all made him feel like he belonged. He wore the uniform. He sat in the meetings with you. He practiced. He was at the games dressed, and he didn't play. He was small. You come from a big district like this, and 9th graders rarely play, and I'm glad because he was small, and if you hit him, he'd end up in like Birmingham. But he also didn't sit there complaining, thought that like they owed him something because he's on the team, he's entitled to play. What time is it? I wish we were done. It's cold out. I wish I was playing. I'm in a game one night, and I'm going to stand supporting the team. I'm like, yeah, go Grafton, go, good job, go, good. Coach calls timeout. And so the coaches come marching on the field. And the players come running to the coaches like, Coach, we got to change things up, Coach. We got to change things up. You know how we have elementary kids and some middle school kids that run the sidelines with the football and the water and the flags? I see Joshua in full uniform grab the Gatorade jug. And he's running it on the field to his fellow teammates. And I'm in the stands like, what are you doing? I remember that night I get home, I have to praise him. I'm like, Josh, you're the best teammate in the world, man. I'm part of a team. We won. I'm like, yeah, you are, man. He was just so proud that he felt he was part of a team. You made him feel like he was part of a team. He just wanted to be. None of you knew his story. And then like many of you, I could tell you all day, you're strong, brother. You're beautiful. You're smart. You've got the ability. You're smart and you're strong. I tell you that 100 times, but if one person says, you're fat, then you go home and you know what? You believe that you're fat. I'll never forget that one day he came home. When that door shut behind him, he threw everything down. He's slamming pictures, walls, yelling, cursing, screaming. He goes out in the car, in the garage, and in a fit of rage, he takes my 5-iron and he just smashes my Escalade. I was so pissed, he scratched my iron. He runs up to his room hysterically crying. I breathe. I go up to his room. He's lying in bed. I sit down in the corner of his bed. I said, what happened today, Josh? He told me that day at practice, a senior, one of the captains, told him that he should go home, do the whole team a favor, and he should just kill himself. You know, sometimes the only words you can say is, I'm sorry. When you're someone that truly cares, instead of knowing someone going through pain, you say, hey, how you doing? And they say, I'm good, I'm good. What does that mean? It means I'm fine, I don't want to talk about it. I have a better question I ask people. How's your heart? How's your heart? That's a tough question to avoid. I said, I'm sorry. I call the coach. I go sit with the coach. The coach and I go to the family's house, the young man, the family. We sit down, and you know what the boy said? You want to know why he said it? He said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just kidding. I'm so proud of the man that I keep working to become, because I looked at that young man with grace and I said, I know, I'm not upset at you, I understand. I said, it's okay. And I shook his hand. I said, thank you for being honest. I said, Mom, Dad, thank you so much for your time. Coach and I go out and we're sitting there, and Coach says, hey, how do you want me to handle this? What do you want me to do? I said, Coach, I want you to spend more time with that boy. I said, I don't want him in trouble. I said, but this could be one of the greatest moments of your coaching and educational career. That you as a coach have a responsibility to teach him as a senior, a captain, what it means to be a leader. And that the way he shows up, the way he practices, the way he speaks, the way he helps, his influence on the whole team creates our program. And the better job you do with him, the better system you're going to have. Coach, I will take care of Josh. And I go home and Josh is lying on the sofa. And I sit down with Josh. And I said to Josh, I said, I talked to Coach tonight, Josh. I says, do you know why we forgive people? He says, no. I says, we don't forgive people for them. I said, we choose to forgive people so that we can move forward. I said, let's call it a bad day. Let's go to sleep, wake up in the morning. I'll drive you to school. I'll drive you to school. We'll stop at Dunkin' Donuts and we'll grab a donut or 10 of them. And you grab your stuff, you get out there. When the bell rings, go back out there. Because I knew this young man was then going to take him under his wing. And so I did everything. He brings his stuff to school the next day. I'm proud of him. But then at 3 o'clock, he sends me a text to come pick him up. He gets in the car and he shows me a text message from someone. I just said, I'm sorry. And so for the next 4 years, Joshua never stepped on that football field again. And he walked through school every day. And you laughed at him. Yet you didn't even know him. You laughed at him because he was different. Because he was developmentally delayed. You laughed at him because he was black. You laughed at him because he was a quitter. When all he wanted to do was just be one of you. You took it all away. You know where Joshua spent August to October? In a psychiatric hospital. He watched a show on Netflix. He binge watched 13 Reasons Why, season 1 and 2. He spent almost 2.5 months. When I was talking to him yesterday, he showed me a tattoo that he got, the semicolon. He says, Jeff, do you know what this means? I says, yeah. He says, I'm proud of you, Josh. I said, how's your heart? He said, my heart's never been better. I says, you're doing the work. I want to leave you with this. I've learned to, even at 48, to love my elders and respect them. My wife's grandpa, greatest man I ever. You have grandparents? I love grandparents because grandma, grandpa, grandchildren. You know why you have such a great relationship? Because there's a common enemy in the middle. Your parents, it's not funny. My wife's grandpa, his name was Mr. Ken. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade, never went to the Second World War, started a business, provided food for the community. He ended up owning shopping centers, mobile home parks, gas stations, car dealerships. Greatest man I've ever met. Well, I remember when my wife and we bought our home, and a proud moment is when you buy a home and you say, you know, let's have Thanksgiving at our house this year. And so my wife and I invite the family. We're going to have Thanksgiving. And Mr. Ken, grandpa, 94 years old, he comes over and he pulls up in his Cadillac. He had 11 of them. And not at the same time. But I've always been raised to be a gentleman, so I walk out there and I'm, hey, Grandpa, good to see you. Come on in, Grandpa. And we're walking in the house. I get on the dining room table. Hey, Grandpa, you sit right here, the head of the table. No, that's your seat. No, Grandpa, I want you to sit. I'm going to sit right next to you. I sat in the corner right next to Grandpa. I'll never forget that Thanksgiving. And I started thinking to myself, I want to spend more time with him. He only lived 2 miles away. And so I made a decision that every day I was home, I wanted to go to the gym, and then after the gym, I would go visit Grandpa before starting my day. And I remember I'd go over the bridge and pull up in his driveway. I'd walk up the patio. He had this like big bay window that overlooked all of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the bay. And as I'd walk up, he was always sitting in his chair. And I remember thinking, he's waiting for me. He wasn't waiting for me. But it's like when you're 94, 95, 96, 97, you don't go far. You go from your bedroom to your chair, or bedroom to the bathroom, to the chair, to the bathroom, to the chair, to the bathroom, to the bedroom, to the bathroom, to the chair. Sometimes you go to the bathroom in your chair, and 95 years old, you're like, I just peed my pants! Ha ha! And you had to be careful when you'd walk in the house. He was hard of hearing, and I didn't want to scare him because then he'd be like, dead. So I walk in quietly, and you had to shake his head. He was old school. And I remember I used to make buying decisions based on the handshake. And he'd always invite me to sit down. I never sat down once until he invited me to do so. I remember one day my mother-in-law, she had Parkinson's disease. She lived with us. And I remember one day I come home and she says to me, are you going to visit Grandpa today? I says, yeah, I'm going to in a little bit. Why? She says, I'm not supposed to tell you, but he bought you a present. He bought me a present. He loves your visits. And so he went out and bought a chair like his chair, so you have your own chair. I never realized that. I always sat like on a stool. And so Grandpa would always invite me to sit down. And you know how your grandparents, they don't talk so much. They want to hear about you. And you're like, how is school today? How's your boyfriend? Because you get to a point where it's not about you, it's about you. And so I would sit down, and Grandpa, he wouldn't talk. He'd just be like, and so I had to start the conversation. I would sit down and be like, how you doing, Grandpa? Good? That's good. You look good. You look good, yeah. Hey, Grandpa. And I'm like, it's a nice day, huh? Sky is out. Sky is always out. I want to share with you 3 things as we get ready to close that I'll always remember. One day, Grandpa said, the 3 most powerful words that you can say to someone: I love you. He never talked about his money, never talked about his home, his cars. He talked about family and love. The other thing I'll never forget, the 3, everything's 3 to him, most courageous words that you could say to someone: I'm sorry. I remember I was like, Grandpa, it's 2. And he was like, you're a wise ass. I'll never forget the day. I'll never forget the day when I showed up and I walked up the patio. And ladies and gentlemen, Grandpa wasn't sitting in his chair. That's how fast things happen. I walk in the house, Grandpa he had fallen and broken his hip and he couldn't get up. As I rush over to him, Grandpa's going to be okay. I called 911. Everybody knew Mr. Ken. He walked 4 miles a day. He walked 2 miles in the morning to Dunkin' Donuts. He grabbed a jelly donut. He grabbed the milk. He said hello to the pretty girls. He walked 2 miles back home. He sat at the table. He had his jelly donut. He had his milk. He did that every single day. When I called 911, the dispatcher recognized the area, and she says to me, she says, I'm sorry, is this Mr. Ken? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm his grandson. What do you chase in life, titles or testimonies? Everyone showed up. Within minutes, The Rock, Baywatch, Hawaii 5-0 Chips, the A-Team, the fire department, the police department, paramedics, the ambulance, the sirens are going. They run in the house. They grab him. They were amazing. They rush him to the hospital. They send him. He goes into emergency surgery. They bring him back to the room. He's sleeping. The family comes in. And that night, we're walking out to dinner. As we're walking out to dinner, my wife stops and she says, honey, why don't you stay with Grandpa? I said, why don't you stay with him? He's your grandpa. And my wife looked at me, she says, the family, everybody thinks Grandpa would like it best if you were there because you're the closest one to him. I sat there that night, and the glow of the machines lit up the room. I held his hand like a baby, and I felt him squeeze through the night. And I remember he said, we never have time to do things right. We always have time to do things over. Why don't we just do it right the first time? I learned how to spell the word love that night. T-I-M-E. Time. You can't take back time. Just like you can't take back words. And the next morning, the doctors, his heart capacity was at less than 10%. They called the family in, and the doctors gave maybe 48 hours to live. And that night, the family's going out to dinner again. I said, I'm not leaving. I held his hand that night and I just said, I love you, Grandpa. Thank you. I says, you can go, Grandpa, we'll be okay. I'll take care of the family now. I have a chair. 7:30 in the morning. Grandpa went to sleep. The nurse came in, she just took the cover, and she says to me, he was a nice man. Titles, testimonies. As a man that lives with mental illness, I lay my head in the pillow at night, I ask 3 questions. 3 questions. I ask, number 1, is my life meaningful? Number 2, is my life fulfilling? Number 3, is my life rewarding? And every single night I have to say yes, yes, yes. And if at any moment I say no or I don't know, I say, what do I need to do to make a change? I want my life to be meaningful. Did you listen? Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be a part of your life. Is my life fulfilling? Thank you for coming. Is my life rewarding? Are you guys walking away, haven't gotten one thing? Take time to. My life is rewarding. I'm on social media at Jeff Yalden. My website is thejyf.org. I love you. I'm here for you. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're strong, you're amazing. I just wish you would see what we see in you. God bless all of you. Thanks for coming.